Welcome to the Memories of a Moonbird podcast, exploring life one story at a time. Hello, friends. Today on the show, she's a hilariously funny comedian and deaf advocator, born hard of hearing and having endured a loneliness that she says many don't really understand. She's spent the last few years creating awareness of those kinds of issues in the hopes of bridging the gaps and creating understanding between the deaf and hard of hearing communities and a world that's mostly designed for hearing people. Using comedy as her vehicle, her YouTube channel is filled with humorous videos that answer questions you may not realize you have, like, can deaf people drive? In addition to her advocacy work, she's also an artist, photographer, graphic designer, and an awesome human being. Here to talk about everything from cochlear implants to improv comedy, please welcome, calling in from San Francisco, the very funny Jessica Flores. Jessica, welcome to the show, and how you doing?
I am doing pretty fabulous. I brushed my teeth, that was good. I feel like I've been forgetting to brush my teeth because we've been on lockdown. I'm like, oh yeah,
Well, I'm gonna jump right in here with something that I think a lot of people are going to be thinking about, which is they're listening to a podcast of me talking to someone who is deaf or hard of hearing, and they're going to ask themselves,
Yes.
well, if she's deaf and hard of hearing, how in the world are we actually communicating?
That is true. They're going to be like, I don't understand how this is working.
So why don't you tell
Mind-boggle.
them the secret?
We have you talking on the microphone, but I can see your lips clearly because
Here they
I'm
are.
pretty good at lip reading. Yeah, not all deaf people can lip read, but I can lip read pretty well. I'm also using a hearing device, so I can hear you a little bit. So it's a combination of both. But I know other deaf people sometimes have interpreters up on the screen
Yep.
at the same time the person is talking. But right now, this seems to be working out pretty good.
Great.
Yeah.
You're from San Francisco, so you were born and raised there?
Yeah.
And what
Never
was that
left.
like?
I mean, I love it here. I love San Francisco. I'm actually the fourth generation of San Franciscans living here. So my great-great-grandmother, she was born in San Francisco. And then my grandfather, my mom, my dad, and then me. Yeah, I mean, I love it here. It's home.
It's
So
a beautiful city.
yeah, it is. It's got a lot of diversity and like there's just all different kinds of people here. So yeah, I love it. I love it here. Yeah.
That's very cool. I want to talk about the statistics of deafness and hard of hearing in America for a reason. And I'm going to read you something that I looked up before this podcast. According to the National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication Disorders, 2 to 3 out of every 1,000 children born in the United States has a detectable level of hearing loss in one or both ears. And that's about 0.30% of the population, 0.3% of the population, or in bigger numbers, about 300,000 people total in the country. But considering that the size of our country is about 350 million people, that's surprisingly not a lot of deaf or hard of hearing people. And I say this because in your videos, you talk about feeling alone. And obviously, as the statistics show, simply by virtue of those numbers, I think you would feel alone when you're only, 99.7% of the population can hear. So I'm curious, what is it like to be a member of that group? What's been the hardest part and what's been the easiest part?
It has been exhausting. I think other people who are a minority would also feel this way, is that when you have a group that we're a lower group, so we still have a lot of people. There's like over millions of deaf people in the world, but we're still not the majority, right? So oftentimes what that means is that we have to educate those people who outnumber us. And the interesting part is, I tell a lot of people this, is that a lot of deaf people feel like we signed up to be these teachers that we never wanted to be, or these educators. For example, like sometimes I go days in a row where I have to explain my hearing loss to like a new person every day.
That has to be exhausting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I I have to explain my deafness, and then I have to tell them how I identify. And, sometimes it gets really exhausting.
So to clarify, what is the difference? I mean, besides the obvious of someone who's deaf cannot hear at all, and then hard of hearing is someone who has a certain percentage of hearing loss. To be identified as hard of hearing, is there an actual number that, you have to not be able to hear?
That is such a good question, because I think that a lot of people in the deaf community, when I say deaf community, I'm talking about everyone who has a hearing loss. But other people would say the deaf community as something else. They would say it as like, signing only. They come from deaf culture, like they grew up with deaf people in their family for generations. When I say deaf community, I'm talking about everyone who has a hearing loss. So deaf, hard of hearing, whatever they want to identify as. But it's interesting because in that community that I'm talking about, there are a lot of people who, including myself, were like, oh, well, I'm hard of hearing because I can't hear this certain amount. So but I can hear something with my hearing aids, but I can't hear everything. And it's this like weird, confusing, like, I feel like when I was growing up, a lot of people were terrified to use the word deaf
For
and to
stigma
label.
Yeah.
My audiologists, they never told me I was deaf. They always like use terms like hearing impaired, hard of hearing, stuff like that. But to me, it was so weird because I felt like I didn't really connect with that term. I'm hard of hearing to me felt too much like, oh, well, I can hear a little bit, but I can't hear a lot. So then where does that leave the person who's hearing? When you're talking to that hearing person, they still don't know how much you can or can't hear. They still assume that you have this hearing, like you can hear everything, but you're like, wait, no, I can't hear some sounds. So it's a really, for me now, I'm like, the words deaf, the words hard of hearing, it's up to the individual with the hearing loss what they want to identify as.
You have cochlear implants, correct?
Yes. No,
Do you also use hearing aids in addition to those?
No, because once you get the cochlear implants, you sacrifice the remaining amount of your hearing that you had left. So I can't put hearing aids back in my ears and then hear that sound that I used to hear with hearing aids. So yeah, it's only the cochlear implant processor.
And we're going to get into the implants a little later on. I'm curious though, do you like having them better than when you had hearing aids?
So it's been really interesting. There's some things that I enjoy about them and there's some things that I don't enjoy about them. Yeah, we'll talk more about it. But one of the things, the difference between the two, hearing aids, they sound very much like microphones. So imagine you're wearing microphones on your ears. They probably sound kind of like this podcast, like very microphone feeling. When you turn up your hearing aids, it just sounds like the microphone is getting louder. When you have a cochlear, this is, again, it's my experience because everybody's experience with cochlear has been different. With my experience, it's this different kind of sound because there's an internal part and an outer part. The internal part actually has a little wire that goes through your cochlea. That snail shell looking part, there's a wire that goes through that. And then when there's a sound, the external part will notify the internal part and then send this little signal to hit a specific part of the cochlea and wake up those nerves.
That is incredible technology.
Yeah, I know. It's insane.
If you don't mind me asking, I'm actually curious about something. What people don't realize is for every, 45 minutes to an hour that they hear on the podcast, I've spent about an hour and a half to 2 hours with the person I'm interviewing because there's stuff we talk about offline and we schmooze a little bit. And so, but after a couple hours of talking to someone like you, I will, make myself a cup of tea, have a snack, rest for a few minutes, and then just go back to my regular workday. For you, when you're sitting there and you're listening through an implant and you're reading my lips and you're doing this for the next 2 hours, when this is done, do you feel like, oh, no problem, or are you exhausted?
That's the downside. I feel exhausted. I don't mind. But if I was to do this Monday through Sunday or Monday through Friday, job work schedules, which I have done before, it gets exhausting. When hearing people go about their day, you guys are used to like all the sound. So, you grew up with that and,
Yeah, constant stimulation.
yeah, you got that. For me, if I have to listen to someone for too long, I get burnt out. And it's because my eyes are doing work and my brain is also doing work now because I haven't had this kind of experience listening to these new sounds. So it's kind of like my brain is starting from scratch.
How long have you had the cochlear implants?
I have had one of them for a year and a half, and
Wow.
then the other one I've had for 6 months.
What's one aspect of being hearing impaired that you actually like?
Oh, that I don't have to hear all of that. I don't have to hear anything I don't want to hear, which is beautiful, which it's kind of weird to me when hearing people do give me sympathy about my deafness. For a long time, I was like, what? That's so confusing because you guys complain about sound a lot. Like, oh my God, my partner snores. Like, I can't stand it. I can't sleep. Or like, there's an annoying noise that you like constantly have to hear.
Do you think you sleep really well in general?
Oh my God, I sleep so good. Yeah, it's the best. It's amazing. Yeah, I love it. And, it's really nice not to be able to hear just like, wow. Yeah. In meditation, I got that.
That's awesome. Were you teased a lot growing up?
I don't know. Because if they did, I wouldn't be able to hear it. Because I grew up
We have a little visitor.
trying, my cat's here paying
What's
a
your
visit.
cat's name?
Okay. Oh my God, my cat's name's Baskin.
Baskin? Like Baskin Robbins?
Did you watch Tiger King?
Yes.
Okay, but this was before. Okay, this is before. She's like almost 2 now.
Did you know about Carol Baskin before then?
I did not know about that. No, she's basically named after
Baskin Robbins,
the
yeah.
ice cream Baskin Robbins.
That is really, really funny.
I know. So now I'm like, oh, stop acting like a Baskin.
Did your cat kill its mate?
We'll never know. There's a case that recently opened up.
So I'm curious, is there prejudice in the deaf and hard of hearing community between the people themselves in the community?
Yeah, there is. I mean, I think every community has some people in it who try to label other people, especially new people who are trying to get involved in the community or trying to like find their way to a community in general.
In general, are people in the community, loving and sympathetic towards one another and trying to help each other?
All the people that I'm friends with, all my deaf friends, they are just like, they're so amazing and they've been so welcoming. And I tell people that like, just because there's some people that you might interact with who are not as welcoming doesn't mean that there's going to be this whole another amazing group who's going to be super accepting and welcome you in with big arms. Like,
I mean, I think that applies to everything though, not just in that community. I find that in my business, to be honest with you, whether it's podcasting or acting or whatever, that's
I think it's interesting. Yeah. Cause I've definitely been told that I'm not deaf enough.
Really?
I've been told that I talk too much, that I don't sign enough, that I'm not Latin enough.
Not Latin enough? That's hilarious.
Yeah, I've had that. I'm not Latin enough. I'm not Mexican enough.
Well, you're talking about sign language. In one of your videos, you had mentioned that you did not learn ASL from birth.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And why not? Why did that not happen?
Because my parents basically, they weren't handed any resources to like start taking up ASL and why it might have been a good thing for me to take it up.
And how old were you when that happened?
I was in first grade, so I think I was about 8. They were told to, get hearing aids and then have me take up speech therapy. It's interesting because the hearing aids, like they helped me hear some sound, and the speech therapy, I talk now. But I was taking up speech therapy from kindergarten to 8th grade.
And were you always this communicative? And I mean, you speak quite well, so, you know.
Yeah, I've had a lot of practice.
That's great, though. I mean, well, and it's great because you didn't get to have it naturally from just being able to hear it all around you from birth, you know?
Yeah.
How old were you? What's your first memory of realizing you were different than other people?
Oh, that's a good question.
I only ask good questions.
Let me see. It was interesting because in 2nd grade, I didn't see myself as different at all. I think as I got older, I was going into schools where they've never had any experience with working with someone who's deaf or hard of hearing at all. So the schools that I went to, they expected so much of me. They expected me to like keep up with the rest of the class. They expected me to be able to learn just like my hearing peers. And I was constantly getting frustrated with that because I'm like, I can't do it. Like, why am I always in these after school programs? I'm trying, I'm like working my butt off, but I still cannot understand.
Wasn't there a teacher at some point that saw this and said, you know, hey, this woman has a problem?
No, not in high school. In high school, it was more, I remember like they told me like, if you want to pass freshman year, you have to learn a language. And I was like, well, I can barely hear English. And they're like, well, you know, that's the requirement at the time. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? Here's my time to learn Spanish. Let's go.
No habla español?
No, poquito, just, you know. But I didn't realize was that the reason why I can't learn a language is because I took speech therapy for English.
No, the reason you can't learn a language is because you're not Latin enough.
Yeah. Hey, what the hell?
So I'm curious, when you dream, do you hear in your dreams?
People ask me that a lot. So here's my theory about dreams. Dreams are in whatever language that you communicate in. When I had my first dream in sign language, I was mind blown.
Wow.
Because I was like, holy smokes, I'm actually learning the language and I'm using it.
That's cool.
In my dream. So I think this is my theory, is that it's in whatever way you communicate.
But if like you had a dream, and let's say you had a dream and Brad Pitt was in your dream,
oh, wow, okay.
would he be talking to you in his natural voice, or would he be signing to you in your dream?
I don't know. We got to ask Brad Pitt right now if he knows some ASL. I'm calling him up right now. He could be my producer. I know he produces everything. Hello, Brad. It's me. Do you know American Sign Language?
Oh, that's hilarious. Calling. Yeah, your phone just rang. Imagine if it were Brad Pitt. So Jess, you're a very, very funny person.
Oh shucks, thanks.
Did you decide to go into comedy as a coping mechanism, or just because you love comedy?
I think the coping, for sure. Because actually, speaking of my grandfather, who just called, I remember growing up with him, and even now, he's in my whole family. They have had this saying where they're like, you know, don't lose your sense of humor.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when times get tough, don't lose your sense of humor. My grandfather, yeah, he says it every time I see him, and it just helped me cope. It helped me like find the funny things of the ugly things.
Yeah. I'm curious, are you religious?
Me? No. I'm really into nature. I like nature, and I feel like, you know, there's something out there, but I don't know what it is.
For people that don't know, I used to date a deaf woman, so I'm a little familiar with some of these things, but how do you hear music?
Now that I have cochlear implants, I can actually stream it.
Directly to your implant?
Yes, to my head.
I'm sorry, but that is fucking cool.
I know. Again, this is my experience, because with the cochlear implants, I have a newer version. So like the old versions, you couldn't really do that yet. I mean, you can still hook them up like with some headphone kind of thing.
But you've got Bluetooth, right?
Yes, I have Bluetooth.
Yeah, Bluetooth in your brain.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool.
It's nice I can hear music that way, but I also, if I don't have my cochlears in, it's all about the bass.
Yeah.
Let the bass drop. Boom, boom. I love like music.
Do you hear music of all different kinds, or is it better if it has a beat and it thumps and it has bass?
I tend to like music of all different kinds. I grew up listening to a lot of Bay Area music, and that had a lot of bass in it. It's called hyphy music.
Hyphy, yeah.
Yeah, hyphy music. There is a lot of bass.
Very cool. Let's talk about your artwork for a second.
Okay.
You're a fantastic artist. You went to school for art?
Went to school for animation and visual effects.
Yes. On your resume, it says the Bachelor's of Applied Science in Animation and Visual Effects from the Expression College for Digital Arts.
Yep.
Aren't you impressed I can read?
I'm so impressed. I'm impressed you have my resume. Keep talking about my resume. Tell everyone what's on it.
You were a barista at some point.
I was. That was challenging.
Yeah, I'll bet. That's a lot of people to be dealing with.
Yep. That was a lot of lip reading.
But free coffee.
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm tired after work, but at least I get, unlimited coffee.
So go back to your art. So how would you define your artistry? A sketch artist, a cartoonist? How do you define yourself?
I usually just tend to say artist, just because I've been drawing for a very long time. I remember my grandmother got me into drawing. She would just make us, sit there and draw whatever. She would critique my tree drawings when I was like 9. And I'm like, why does it even matter if the shading's wrong? I'm 9. She was an artist herself, but she didn't really, pursue that in any way. I also think that was a little bit of a way that I learned how to cope with my hearing loss. A fun fact, in my teen years and sometimes today, I did do a lot of graffiti. So I got into the graffiti scene. Same thing is way to
Is this legal graffiti or is this illegal graffiti?
It's legal wink wink graffiti.
So now instead of graffitiing illegally, you take to artwork, and I want to give you props because last year you animated a book called Harriet versus the Galaxy by Samantha Baines, which is available on Amazon.
I did.
I have not read it, but it looks awesome, actually.
It is.
So people on the podcast, go to Amazon,
Yeah.
look up Harriet, Harriet versus the Galaxy by Samantha Baines, Baines, animated, illustrated, I should say, by the lovely Jess Flores.
Yes.
So congratulations on that. That's a great thing.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a fun project to work on. It was really nice because she's also
Hard of
a
hearing.
deaf comedian. Yeah. So it was just really nice to be able to collaborate with someone and to just know that there's people trying to find they were actually searching for a deaf artist to work on this project.
That's cool.
And yes, oh my God, I love that so much because it helps support our ecosystem. I also had a similar project working with Google making ASL stickers. Do you have a Google? Do you have Android?
I have iPhone.
Sad. No.
I think you're the one who's sad. We do have stickers in our iPhones.
If you have a Google board, which is a Gboard, I got the opportunity to help them create stickers using ASL as a way to teach people just spread a little more awareness, which is super cool.
That's very cool. And if people want to find those, Jess, where do they go?
So you have to have a Gboard, and you can find that in the Apple Store app. I don't even know what it's called. Apple App Store. And then the Google Play Store has it too.
What's the sticker set called?
It's called Kiss Fist ASL.
Kiss Fist ASL on Gboard. All right.
Yes. Kiss Fist. Yes.
Let's talk about your career a little more. You have this really awesome YouTube channel, and you're an artist, and you're a fantastic comedian. What are you hoping to do career-wise for yourself and for the deaf and hard of hearing community?
That is an awesome question. I have a lot of goals, but I do have one bigger goal, a bigger picture that I'm trying to work towards. I want to make sketch comedy for that includes a lot of deaf talent to spread deaf awareness, like just to like start creating it more as like a norm instead of something that we just see once in a while that pops in on TV shows. Like I want a show that has like a bunch of deaf talent in it, you know, so we can be constantly seeing it over and over so people get used to us because we're out there.
And do you want to also have deaf or hard of hearing people working on crew and part of the whole production?
Yes, exactly. Like I want to give the people that I know talented deaf people who work in production now, and you know, like we're fighting for it still. We're trying to get people to know that, you know, like you need to start hiring those with disabilities, like in learning how to work with us instead of just being like, oh my God, that person has a disability. That's gonna make the production on set a whole lot longer. Like we don't know how to hire interpreters and start freaking out. No, it's like if you really want to be about diversity and inclusion, like you gotta start including us too.
I agree.
Yeah, there's been like recent like shows and, you know, movies that I see and they're using our language, they're using sign language, and it's like a person who has never even used the language before.
Yeah.
It hurts to like see that because there's not a lot of opportunities for deaf actors and filmmakers and stuff.
Yeah, I get you. There's not enough opportunities as it is. So why are they giving that opportunity to someone who's not deaf or hard of hearing? You know, for any disability. Like, why would you have someone who has whatever disability not play that role when there are plenty of actors that could? You know, I get it totally. If I just magically said, "Hey, I've got $5 million to make a production or whatever, and I'm going to give it to you to produce," what would you do with it?
So I'm working on a movie right now, and I want to make that happen.
Is it a story about a deaf, hard of hearing girl that meets a really cool podcaster, and then they travel?
Close,
they travel in time,
close,
and
very close. Very close. Yeah, it's about my kind of like, it's from me. It's my own personal story within the story. And I'm writing it right now, keeping in mind all of the deaf talent that I know. And if I was able to make the film, I would be able to hire all those people. So, you know, deaf directors, deaf, you know, DPs, you know, deaf personal assistants. Like I want to see them in the industry more because, you know, a lot of people think that deaf people are quiet, but they're really quite loud. We have a voice in all of this.
What made you decide to do improv in the first place?
I always wanted to do it. And I was letting this idea that, you know, deaf people can't do improv, deaf people can't do this, deaf people can't do that. I was letting those, I call it hearing minded. So because I grew up being the only deaf person I knew, I grew up with also the hearing beliefs of like, oh, like deaf people can't do that because they can't hear stuff. So I fed into that and I started like thinking kind of like hearing minded. I was like, oh, well, I guess I can't do it because everyone that I see on TV, everyone that I see, you know, on stage, they all can hear and talk and I can't do that. And then I just reached a point where I was like, no, like I love goofing around with people. I love just making up stories and playing pretend. So I'm going to give it a try and we'll see how it works out.
That's an amazing accomplishment and something I think you should be very proud of.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was terrifying at first, especially when I took up my first class at Endgames, no interpreters. Yeah, it was challenging because I'm learning the basics and I'm just like when people turn around, I can't understand what's going on. So in my first class, I tend to fake it a lot. Like, oh yeah, I totally know what's going on because that's what I've been doing my entire life. You know, like with hearing people, I would fake it and be like, oh yeah, totally. I can totally hear what you're saying. And then if they ask you a question and then you can see in their face, like, oh, they asked you something, like you need to respond with like an answer, like you can tell. What they're like,
So like, excuse me, ma'am, what toppings do you want on your pizza?
yeah. And then you're just like, yeah.
Do you like pizza?
I do, but I can't really do the cheese anymore. It
Oh,
hurts my stomach.
I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, I know it's kind of sad, but I do like it. You know, if there's like no cheese on it, I don't even like the vegan cheese. It's kind of gross and
Wait, are
weird.
you vegan?
I'm not vegan, but I love vegetables,
Are you
and
vegetarian?
occasionally I eat pork.
Oh, so you're not. Okay, so you're not vegetarian.
Okay, occasionally. I'm like a bad vegan. I mean, I have my dairy milk, you know, like I love oat milk and like I love vegetables, but occasionally like, you know, there's some bacon cooking and I'm like, hey, hook your girl up, you know.
Hey, Jess,
Yeah.
if you eat bacon, you're not vegan
At all?
at all.
Shh, don't tell people.
Okay, our secret. So let's talk about your cochlear implants. Why
Okay.
did you choose to get them in the first place, and what was the procedure like?
Not every deaf person is for cochlear implants.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally understand why. Because, you know, there's been problems with it, issues with it. It's a surgery. You never know what you're going to get. But this is my story. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I went to my audiologist. She's like, okay, your hearing aids don't help you, but because you're such a good lip reader and you've been lip reading for your entire life, that is what's helping you. It's not the hearing aids, it's your lip reading.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had no idea. But what happened was, like, if I closed my eyes and I heard someone talking, it sounded like this.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, so what do I do? And she's like, well, you know, you could get new hearing aids. Or she was like, I don't know if I recommend this, but, you know, you could look into getting cochlear implants. But the thing is that there's a 50% chance you might like it.
There's a 50% chance you might like it?
Yep. 50 chance you'll like it, 50 chance you won't like it.
Okay.
So hearing that, I was like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I think 3 years later, after being like figuring out that I was qualified for a cochlear implant, I started learning sign language because I was working at the coffee shop. I just remember at the end of every day, I was crashing.
Yeah.
I was like, I am spending so much energy trying to focus. And so by the end of the day, I would be burnt out. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend my entire life not being able to communicate with people. So I started taking up sign language, was just kept going with it, became more fluent, more comfortable with learning sign language. I'm 3 years in now. As that was going on, my hearing was also declining. And it got to a point where almost every few weeks, something that I did hear before, I couldn't hear it anymore.
Mm.
So I got so upset. I was like, I don't want my hearing anymore. I do not want to hear the drop anymore. It drove me so crazy. I was like, just get rid of it. And I was like, but how do I get rid of it? And then that's when I was like, oh, I remember. If you get a cochlear implant, that means you sacrifice the remaining of your hearing. I was like, you know what? I think it's time. And if I like it, cool. If I don't like it, cool, because I'm still deaf. Like,
Yeah.
I can take them off. And I think that a lot of people don't realize is that it comes off. So it's not permanent. Like, I'm not hearing things 24/7.
Yeah.
Thank God. I can remove it if I don't want to hear something.
Is it comfortable?
Sometimes, you know, it's a lot more comfortable than the hearing aids, but I have to say, if you have short hair, you'd love it. Daniel, you would love them because it's easy to put on. If you have long hair like I do, it's a pain in the ass because, like, if I want to put my hair up, it gets tangled, you know, going up. And sometimes, like, my right one actually falls off because the magnet is the strongest magnet I can have on this side. So I can't go any higher, unfortunately. So it falls off. Like sometimes I'm doing jumping jacks or I'm skating and doing like some skate tricks and it's falling off. And I'm like, oh my God, it drives me insane.
How long was the actual surgery?
It was, I can't remember exactly. I think it was like 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours.
And was it painful afterwards, the recovery period?
Yes. Well, the left side, I healed pretty well. But after you get it, you're all drugged out. So you can't really feel anything until the next day. You wake up and you're like, oh crap, I need someone to help me to the bathroom. So it kind of throws off your balance.
Oh, wow.
And then on the right side, oddly enough, the right side took a long time for me to heal. It was like painful and I couldn't stand up that much. So yeah, and then my tongue was actually numb. Half of my tongue was
That's
numb.
crazy.
Yeah, some people they when they get that surgery, they say that you might taste metal for a long time.
Wow, that's crazy. Do you think that the technology will evolve, that eventually we will have a way for deaf people to be able to hear fully?
Honestly, I hope not because like I enjoy being deaf. Like I don't want to permanently hear stuff. I think they might find something, but if you ask most people in the deaf community, they're gonna be like, nah, I don't want that.
Really?
But yeah. A lot of people, like if you ask them like, hey, if you could be hearing, would you want to be hearing? A lot of my friends are like, no, I'm cool. But that's because, they have sign language to fall back on. They have a community to fall back on. But there's people who, have recently lost their hearing, like overnight. Yeah, those people will probably be like, yes, please give it to me
Well, yeah,
now.
if you've had it your whole life and then you lose it, that sucks, because
Yeah, because it's a different experience. Yeah, all deaf people are different, but a lot of them are like, nah, I'm cool. I'm good. The ones that sign, they're like, yeah.
Would you recommend cochlear implants for people?
That is a good question. Again, Daniel, thank you. It's really up to the individual. I can't say, yeah, go get them. I can't say, no, don't get them because, I struggled with that myself. I was like, should I get them? I was like, well, if I get them, like I might not be deaf enough again, or if I don't get them, I might deal with this hearing loss dropping forever, And it was kind of interesting. I feel like there was one point where I was like, I don't want to get them at all because I felt like I was almost letting other people make the decision for me.
Well, now that you have them, are you glad you got them?
Yeah, I really enjoy being fully deaf. I do. I also enjoy the streaming part of it. And I can, but the cool part is I can stream the TV straight to the processors and shut off everyone in the background, which means like they can all eat their chips and I can be chilling, watching whatever Netflix movies I want.
Do you like to travel?
I do. I don't travel enough, but
Where's your favorite place you've gone so far in your life?
Probably the Philippines.
Why so?
Well, my boyfriend has family there. And we went to go visit, I think 2 years ago. I love it because it's like, just good people and it's cheap Hawaii, like you can make your money last for a very long time there. But yeah, it's a beautiful place. The water is amazing. I used to travel to Hawaii a lot because I have a grandmother and aunt who lived there. So I would go there all the time visit and I was like, I want to move to Hawaii. Like I love it so much. Like I just love the people, the place, like the nature. Yeah, I'm all about tropical places. I love that stuff.
Have you been overseas to Europe or anything?
No, never. I definitely want to. It's something I have a list of places I want to go. And I'm hoping to go there one day. Yeah.
Do you think traveling is more difficult for someone deaf or hard of hearing?
Sometimes it can be, like when flights...
Wait, let me guess. Is this when they're giving the safety demonstration in the plane?
Oh my God. Okay, so check it out. So there was a time where I put on my plane ticket that I was deaf. So just to give them the heads up, because sometimes if I don't put that, they'll sit me in the emergency exit row. And I didn't know that no deaf or hard of hearing people or any person with a hearing loss can sit in the exit row.
Makes sense.
Which, I was like, would you rather have the person who's listening to all the screaming happening or the person who doesn't have to listen to the screaming happening? So I think I'd rather have deaf people in Mexico.
Has the evolution of technology and all the new mobile phones and apps, has that really helped the deaf and hard of hearing communities?
Yes. FaceTime.
Yeah, and great apps,
Duo.
I'm sure. Right?
Oh my God, yes. FaceTime Duo. We don't have to. I mean, we still do relay calls, which is like when you call a hearing person.
I used to do that with the girl I dated, yeah.
So you're familiar with that. Like, so for people who don't sign, we tend to use those services. But for those who do sign, like our deaf friends and family members, we can just call them through FaceTime and Duo. And it's so nice because we can actually see them.
Yeah.
You know, but also check it out. So I have a Google Pixel phone, right? And they're doing something pretty awesome. But there's this little accessibility button at the bottom of my screen, this little person. If I hit that, it's going to transcribe most of what I'm saying.
I have the exact same app. I use Google Translate when we're traveling in Europe and or other countries. And it's been wonderful because you can not only transcribe, but you can actually, there's other apps that, let's say, for instance, when we were in Germany, you can hold the phone between the two people and it'll actually translate the entire conversation if you do it slowly, you know?
Right?
The technology is amazing. Eventually, we're all going to be able to understand each other, which is great.
Yeah.
Well, Jess, I'm curious, are you hopeful for the future? I mean, are you scared about the future? Are you hopeful? How do you feel about it?
You remember how I said I'm kind of like just going with the flow?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of what I do. Like I don't know. Nobody can ever know what the future is going to be like, right? But we have the present. I feel like we always have the present. We have now. So for me right now, I'm just kind of focusing on what I can do now. Yeah, I'm just kind of staying flexible. I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you believe in love?
Yeah. Heck yeah, I do. I do. I got a lot of love for a lot of people. Yeah.
Do you want children of your own?
You know, I do. Not right now. I love kids. I love kids because it's interesting. Before I had sign language and before I found other people to connect with, I could always connect with kids like at family parties and stuff because like, you know how like if I'm at a family party, I'm zoning out because there's way too many people talking. There's way too many things going on. So I'm in my own world. Like I was in my own world a lot.
Yeah.
But the same thing with kids. They're also in their own world.
Yeah, I actually feel like a lot of my childhood I spent in my own imagination, just ignoring the rest of the world and doing what I wanted to do, you know, creatively.
Yeah. So
is there any hereditary risk of hearing loss being passed to your kids?
No. It's random. I'm the first one in my family. Me and my partner were actually like talking about adoption. Like we want to adopt some deaf kids. So
that's cool.
Yeah, hopefully we can make that happen.
Well, I have some more questions, so I hope you're not too exhausted.
No, let's go.
Let's talk about reading. What books do you like? What are you most drawn to?
So I have different kinds of books that I like. I do love reading, especially young kid books. Kind of just because like I love the imagination that goes into like young adult books. This one.
So was it A Barrel of Laughs, A Veil of Tears? I don't know that one.
This is the book, Daniel. You guys need to read this. Read this to double stuff your guinea pig, okay? And it's just got this really like great story, but it really lets your imagination run wild and it kind of makes you think outside the box.
I love reading young adult fiction actually because I feel like the creativity and the imagination in it is so great. And a lot of times adult fiction gets so wrapped up in trying to be controversial or trying to be, shock value that it loses the heart of story.
Yes. Okay, one more kid book. This is another one. Same guy.
The Man in the Ceiling by Jules Feiffer.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, what about movies? What's one of your favorite all-time movies you could watch over and over again?
Okay, first one that pops in my mind, favorite movie, is called The Way, Way Back. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Oh, it's so good. yeah, I watched and I was like, I could watch it over and over again. It's just
The
like
way back.
the way back. So it's a good film. I like it.
What
I
else?
like it a lot.
What another? Give me another one.
My other top favorite movie is called Blind Spotting. Have you seen that?
Mm-mm.
D.V. Diggs and Raphael, I don't know his last name. They're both from the Bay Area, and they made a film based in the Bay Area, and it's just like I can connect with it on so many levels. It's a really good film. I recommend checking it out, and the music for it it's just as amazing.
In one of your videos, you talk about hating dolls, and I want you to know that I also find them incredibly creepy, but...
Thank you. I thought you were going to pop one out of the screen.
No, but I want you to know that if I were a multimillionaire, I would have already had a Jess Flores doll made with little cochlear implants, and I would have it have all kinds of expressions and say really creepy stuff, and I would have sent it to you as a gift for doing the podcast.
No, please don't ever become a millionaire. Please don't. No,
how about I become a
creepy.
millionaire, but I won't send you a doll?
Okay, that works.
What would you do if you found out that every time I do a podcast interview, I secretly have a doll made of that person in a little room in my house?
I would.
Oh my God, that's so fucked up.
That'd be so creepy. I don't like them. I don't trust them.
I don't either.
I actually, there's an experience that comes with why I don't like the doll.
I don't know if I want to hear about this.
You do. We're going to talk about it, Daniel. I was around 9, and my grandmother was like, hey, what do you want for your birthday? She would take us to the Salvation Army all the time to go play with stuff, and I was in that fancy part of the Salvation Army, with the luxuries. And I saw this doll, and I was like, wow, well, I never had a doll. I kind of want that doll. And she was like, well, I don't know. Maybe we'll get it for you. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I was like, I was over it. Like, it's been a couple of days. And I got a birthday present, and I opened it, and it was that doll. And it was a porcelain doll.
Oh, they're the worst.
Yeah, I know. Why did I do that to myself? And it had like this red, like little velvet dress and this little lacy collar, curly hair. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I didn't really know what to do with it because you can't really play with those kind of dolls. So I just sat it like up on my dresser. And then a few days were going by, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, oh, there's something off about it. I don't trust it. And I kept looking at it like, I don't trust this doll. Its face isn't moving.
Ugh.
And I was like, I don't get it.
Fuck
I
dolls.
Yes, I know. I don't know. Fuck dolls. That sounds like a really cool punk rock band.
Yeah. Tonight, Fuck Dolls, live at 8 p.m.
Fuck the dolls. They're creepy as shit. But anyways, at 9 years old, I decided the best thing to do would be to take this doll and smash its face with a hammer. So I took the doll when nobody was around, and I smashed it with a hammer, smashed its face.
That's awesome.
So the face was gone, but then I was like, it looks even more terrifying. So I decided, I remember this is the weirdest part. I decided, I was like, you know what? To make this look better, I gotta add some glitter.
Oh shit, really?
So I took glitter and I dumped it in the face, and I had this doll with no face and glitter filled inside. And I was like, I don't know what to do with it now. If my parents see this.
You created nightmare fuel is what you did.
I traumatized myself. Yeah, I didn't want my parents to see it, so I opened up the window. It was like this window that there was a roof to the next door neighbors. I put it outside in there so you couldn't see it unless you opened the window and peeked outside. Left it there.
For how
It was
long?
maybe 2 years or
Oh
3
my gosh, so
years.
that doll is out there in the rain and everything for years?
It could be out there.
Glitter
It could
pouring out
still
of its
be out there.
smashed in face.
I'm just waiting for it to come back.
Yeah, one day, Jess, it's going to come back and be like, "You killed me.
You know what? Since it's got the glitter, it might not be that creepy.
You killed me. I mean, I look fabulous, but you killed me."
You bitch! Throw glitter at me. How do you like me now? It could happen. It could happen.
Holy
Well,
shit.
if I disappear, you'll know where I went.
Well, that's the horror movie you should write for Hollywood. There you go.
Actually, that is a good idea. I'm going to write it down later.
Well, I want to ask you about a few of your favorites, actually. What are your least and favorite sounds?
When I got the cochlear implant, one of my favorite sounds, I have a couple now. One of them, though, the first one I remember was the sound of hummingbirds.
Oh, they're great, aren't they?
Yeah, I did not know that they made that little...
Yeah.
It's like they're talking. It's crazy. They're like little fairies or something. Fairies of Mother Nature.
We have about 10 of them outside of our apartment in this big tree. Yeah, they're constantly flying around. Yeah, they're great.
They're so amazing. Yeah, so I love that sound. Also, the sound of bubbles of carbonated drinks. I did not
like
know.
The...
It's like the.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that made a sound. Like after I got the cochlear, I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like everything makes a sound. That's too much. Why does everything make a sound? That's annoying." I was like, "Shut everything off." Least favorite sound. I don't like chalkboard.
Yeah, no one likes that.
Like we don't even hear it, but we're cringing.
That's funny. Just if you don't mind me asking, it's very personal.
Okay.
But
okay.
Did you? I mean, this is probably. I feel stupid asking this question, but
it's okay. It's okay.
No, but
no question is stupid.
Did you know that things like farting and biological stuff made noises your whole life, or no? Was it like, oh shit, I didn't realize farts were that loud?
Farts, yes, because when people sit next to me, I could feel vibration. My sister actually really loves to do this thing. My sister Monica, she loves to do this thing where she'll fart kind of far away from me. And then she'll give me this look. She goes, and she'll wait for me to smell it. And then be like, how could you? But yes, I knew they made noise, mostly because people caption it all the time on TV. Fart noise. So there's a noise. But yeah, I was aware. But there were some things that I had no idea made a noise.
Like what?
Concrete, like bicycles on the concrete. Like they have like this crunchy noise.
Yeah, the rubber tire on the. Yeah.
I had no idea that happened.
What about walking on grass?
Yeah, stuff like that. No idea. I was like, what? This.
Oh, your
rubbing hands together.
Rubbing your hands together.
The little fly thing. Every sound that could be qualified as those those YouTube videos. What do they call it?
ASMR.
Welcome to our podcast.
Yeah.
We have Daniel here today.
What's your favorite animal?
Probably the hummingbird. It's the first thing that comes to mind. They're amazing. And bumblebees. But
if you had to choose dogs or cats?
I'm going to say cat because of Baskin here. My cat Baskin. I don't want to get too mad.
If Baskin wasn't in the room, would you choose differently?
Choose both. But since you're not giving me a choice, I'm going to go with cats.
Jess, what do you think you have most to learn right now?
That's such a good question. I'm always learning stuff. And I mean, I don't really know right now. I think I'm still learning. Like, I'm pretty confident in myself, but I do feel like I could be more confident, or I could just give myself a pat on the back more often, like I know I'm good, but sometimes, I forget that. So I could learn to maybe just trust myself more, trust that I'm good enough.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I was telling you offline about when you get in your 40s. I think you especially just start to realize that you don't really care anymore what people think because I think for most of us, we go, oh man, I don't know how many days I have left on earth and I really want to enjoy them and Just all that stupid shit from the past, forget it. I just want to live my
Yeah.
life. And if people don't like who I am, fuck them, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Man, I can't wait to be 40.
well, I mean, take your time, enjoy your 30s.
I gotta get there now.
Because I will tell you, there is a downside, which is you become emotionally really awesome. But then,
that's the downside.
The upside is you become emotionally really awesome. The downside is that your body does start to betray you, and all kinds of minor aches and pains and little health problems. And it's coming. It comes for everybody. What makes you feel the most connected in a world that is a speaking world?
Sign language, and like if I have interpreters, like, I mean, if you're talking about like communication wise, like I always feel more connected with the hearing world in general if I have interpreters available to help me figure out what's going on. And when I'm signing with my deaf friends, it's just this amazing experience. Like, I'm so grateful that I started learning sign language, because it's like, so like I said, before I didn't have sign language, I was able to speak whatever's on my mind. But when somebody spoke back to me, and like I had to like put this whole puzzle together all the time. And with sign language, it's so fluid. Like how you feel right now about communication. You can hear me, you can tell me what's on your mind. When I'm signing with someone, I can understand them and I can tell them what's on my mind. So I get both two ways of the communication instead of just one way. Yeah. So that makes me feel more connected in the world.
Where in the world do you feel most connected emotionally when you go out in the world?
Two places. One, when I'm like just outside and I'm taking my time to observe like flowers and just watch animals, around me, and just like I really like nature. I really like it. Like there's just something beautiful about it, especially spring. Spring is my favorite season, because that's when everything, flowers and the nature, they've been working so hard. They spent years to like just bloom, and like there's something magical about that, and the colors and everything. So I feel really connected there. And also now skating, like skateboarding. Yeah,
cool.
It's just something where I can have that. I can just be focused. I can be so focused on the moment, the present. And whenever I'm focused in the present, it's like, it's when I feel the most emotionally connected in the world.
What do you hope to change about yourself and the world as you get older?
I hope to just, keep paving a way for other deaf talent. Like, I just hope to put a footprint in the world and just make a little bit of difference.
If my listeners could get one thing from this podcast, what would you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with just having more of an open mind, like especially when it comes to like diversity and inclusion. Like, don't forget about us. Like, those with disabilities, we also have a voice. I just hope to kind of just bring a little new perspective, maybe like make them curious about sign language, and I hope they learn more stuff about deaf and hard of hearing people.
20 years from now, you're in your 50s, and let's say you decide to listen back to this podcast here in 2020 when we're all stuck in a quarantine. Mm-hmm. What do you hope you've accomplished by the time you're in your 50s re-listening to this podcast?
I really hope I paved a way. Yeah, I hope I got to my big goal and knocking down those doors and the barriers for other deaf and hard of hearing people, and to get us more involved in the entertainment industry. Yeah, I hope I did it by then. But by then, I won't care as much, right, Daniel? Because we give zero fucks when we get to our 40.
No, you give a lot of fucks about what you want to do with your life. You just give zero fucks about what other people think of it.
That's true. Yeah.
So
oh my God, I'm going to be so awesome at 50. Now I can't wait for 50.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you're rock star is what you're going to be. Jess, what's your spirit animal?
Hummingbirds. Yeah, hummingbirds, especially when they fly super close. Have you ever had one fly right up to you?
Yeah,
they like look at you.
Yeah.
Did you know that hummingbirds can memorize people's faces?
I did not.
Yeah, so they know who's like filling the nectar if you like feel it, or they know who's in that area. So I remember there's like times where I forgot to fill the nectar, and then they'll just fly straight up to me and be like, hey, yeah, so,
It's
and they're
nectar
just
time.
fluttering in the air. They're like, yeah, you know, I'm getting kind of hungry.
What do you think is the meaning of life?
It's such a big question. Part of me doesn't know. And it took me a very long time to be comfortable with not knowing the answer to that.
Mm.
The other part of me right now is to take care of the earth and to take care of each other. That's what I think it's all about. I think it's helping one another and just, you know, taking care of each other, taking care of the earth.
If people who are deaf or hard of hearing listen to the podcast or read the transcript, what is it you would like to say to them specifically?
You're not alone. I say this a lot because it was really lonely. Like, you don't have anyone to connect with. You're like, oh, well, I guess there's only me, you know, like I'm the only one having to deal with all this, but you're not alone at all. There's people out there that have the same communication barriers as you, that have the same experiences as you. So I just want you to know that, like, you're not alone. You have me. I'm out there too. And we're all fighting in this together. Yeah, I think that's really important for people to keep in the back of mind.
That's great. The last thing I like to do with all of my guests is play a little game I have called 299 Philosophical and Life Questions with Moonbird. And I've collected 299 questions that I think are really cool from friends and family and the internet. And you get to pick two numbers.
Two numbers?
So pick two numbers between
I can't pick.
Between 1 and 299, and I'll read you those questions.
I thought I would have to do 200. I was kind of looking forward to that.
That'll be my next podcast.
200.
All 300.
No, okay.
299. That's a lot of questions.
Yes, let's do it. Why not add a 300? Make it even. Okay, hold on. I'm going to pick 88.
Okay, and?
49.
Okay, 88 and 49. Do you want them in that order or in numerical order?
Let's be rebels. I want them in the...
Or you selected.
The
okay.
order. 88, then 49.
All right. So 88. What's one thing you wish you knew how to do?
Ooh.
Besides manufacture dolls?
Motherfucker. No. One thing I wish I knew how to do? Probably read and speak Spanish. Like, I'm actually trying to learn Spanish right now through an app. But I'd like to, I wish I could do that right now.
49. What's your biggest regret in life so far?
See, I know some people are going to be like, oh, yeah, you know, like, you have to have one regret, but...
You don't have to.
Then, you know, I don't really have any regret. I mean, like, my life is what it was. It's, you know, I'm still alive today. I'm still doing things. So I don't like looking back at the past and being like, oh, if I just changed this and that, my life would have been completely better. No, I like to think I had those experiences for a reason. So yeah, no regret, you know, just going with the flow.
That's awesome. Jess, I can't thank you enough for being here and for reading my lips and for...
Thank you. Oh my God. I never had anyone say, thank you for taking the time to read my lips. Holy shit. Yeah. No problem.
No, I mean,
I saying that.
I have no idea the effort it would even take. And just having, when I knew we were going to be interviewing you, I tried to read Jolene's lips for a little while and just see if I could make sense of it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is very difficult, you know?
It is. I mean, it's definitely the speech therapy, you know, that's like taking it for like 8 years, 8+ years. I think it was 9 because I stayed back in 2nd grade. Don't tell anyone or tell everyone. I stayed back in 2nd grade. I think that really trained me to do, and I mean, I've been lip reading for 30+ years.
Well, it is really impressive being able to communicate with you, honestly. So thank you. Thank you.
You did a good job.
And I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to see more from you. And sincerely, have a great day.
Thank you. You're awesome. Stay awesome.
You're awesome. You stay awesome.
Yeah, you stay awesome.
I want to thank my amazing guest, Jess Flores. You can check out her YouTube channel by searching Jessica Marie Flores, Flores. We've got more amazing women for you to hear from, so join me next time when I interview Michelle Maxwell, a master electrician who not only climbs rigs, puts down thousands of feet of cable, and kicks major ass, but has done it fully pregnant. Twice. It's a fun look at what life is like for a working mom in the entertainment business. So until then, if you'd like more Moonbird in your life, and hey, who wouldn't? Head on over to memoriesofamoonbird.com or visit me on social media at Memories of a Moonbird.